As President Trump's visit to the region continues to send ripples right across the political spectrum and global markets as well, let's take a closer look at the actual beneficiaries of the agreements and the policies agreed to by the leaders of the United States and Saudi Arabia, notably the businesses and the entrepreneurs that run them. Well, one group that enables cross-border collaboration between firms in both countries is the US-Saudi Business Council. We're joined now by Charles Hallab, who is the CEO and the president of the US-Saudi Business Council. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Charles. You're in Riyadh, I see, and I'm told you were at the investment forum, which was held at the King Abdulaziz International Conference Center there in Riyadh earlier in the week. How would you describe the mood in that conference center?
Well, first, thank you so much. Great to be with you today. The mood is easy to describe. It was absolutely electric. I think no matter which side of the ocean you're on and which side of the political spectrum you're on, the mood was incredibly optimistic, energetic, and aspirational.
Okay, well, it certainly looked that way in the pictures. And we've been looking at some of the pictures just before we crossed you. Now, just tell us a bit about the organization you work for, the US-Saudi Business Council. It's a bilateral NGO. Tell us, give some examples of the sorts of things the Council does to build and strengthen business ties between the two countries.
Sure, we work directly with companies on both sides, on the Saudi side, on the US side, to create partnerships, facilitate deals, do whatever we can to build and enhance trade, commerce, and investment between the two countries. In terms of this forum in particular, all sorts of deals were signed, celebrated. Many of those began with conversations at the US-Saudi Business Council. So a very exciting time for us and a very exciting week for us here.
Okay, and just tell us a bit about the Council's role during the course of the presidential visit.
Sure. Well, we worked with the Ministry of Investment of Saudi Arabia at the outset to help organize the forum. In particular, we were an authorized invitor, so we reached out to our networks and our members to make sure that the creme de la creme of U.S. companies and Saudi companies were represented at the forum. We were also honored to play a role at the forum itself. We hosted a panel session on quality of life sectors, which of course are very near and dear to our hearts, but also provide the magic around all these other business sectors and initiatives.
Okay, and presumably you had to do an awful lot of forward planning and arranging, and you and your colleagues at the Council were presumably extremely busy in the run-up to the arrival of President Trump.
Indeed, we were. Yes, I enjoyed my first full night of sleep in a long time last night. So,
okay, just tell us. I mean, the fact that the U.S. president made Saudi Arabia the first stop on this, his first planned foreign visit. It wasn't his actual first visit, but it was the first one he'd planned to make. What does that tell us about the relationship between the U.S. and Saudi?
Well, it certainly wasn't by accident. And the lessons are easy to draw from it, that Saudi Arabia is, it plays a very, very, very important role now under this presidency and is, in our view, rightfully center stage in the world for our purposes on the business front, but well beyond that as well.
So where does this then take US-Saudi relations? I mean, where do we head to from here as a result of that visit and that historic forum?
Well, I think this is the beginning of a new chapter. We like to think of it as the chapter of true partnership. The relationship between the United States and Saudi Arabia is very, very strong, has been strong. But that relationship, I think, in this next chapter becomes once again a true partnership, particularly on the business front. And as you know, all sorts of initiatives were launched, some renewed, and many objectives outlined that sort of clear the path for that sort of renewed partnership.
And when you say a true partnership, I mean, we heard a lot of people we spoke to as we were covering the visit by President Trump using words of, saying it was a two-way street, that investment forum, mutually beneficial to both countries. I mean, we know about the 600 billion Saudi investment commitment, but what's the upside for the kingdom? What's the upside for Saudi Arabia?
Well, I don't think it's just 600 billion, without any strategic purpose or intent around it. I think about Vision 2030. That's very, very important to the kingdom. I think a lot of that investment will be focused and managed through the lens of what serves the goals of Vision 2030 the best. And I do think that it's not simply return on investment in terms of those investments that are being contemplated. It's strategic return on investment. It's how those investments will build a stronger partnership between the United States and Saudi Arabia. So and keep in mind, it is indeed bilateral. There are all sorts of initiatives underway to make sure that partnerships are formed between U.S. companies and Saudi companies, that FDI from the United States continues to Saudi Arabia in light of and in the context of Vision 2030. So we view it very bilaterally, and that suits us very, very well at the U.S.-Saudi Business Council, because that is our mandate and our mission.
And when you say a strategic ROI, have you got an example of such a case?
Sure. All you need to do is look at the pillars that are most important under Vision 2030: technology and energy, renewable energy, mining and minerals, and on, and understand that real estate, investing in real estate in California may not be the highest priority today, so much as investing in technologies and companies that have a real, tangible, and long-term benefit to the objectives of the kingdom and its various ministries and various initiatives in making sure that they reach their diversification goals and other goals.
Okay, and U.S. direct investments in Saudi Arabia reached just over $15 billion US dollars last year. How do you see the kingdom attracting more U.S. capital in the coming years then?
Well, this week was a very, very good start. I think U.S. companies want to feel comfortable about the overall relationship at the highest levels. That signal has certainly been sent out. I think there are other issues that the Saudis are addressing in terms of building the enthusiasm and the energy for U.S. investments into Saudi Arabia, and we're working with a number of stakeholders in that regard. So stay tuned, but this week and the forum and the visit and all the fanfare around it was just the beginning.
Yeah, indeed, and it's been a 90-year partnership, and people are talking about this new golden era in U.S.-Saudi relations. Where do you see the U.S.-Saudi partnership heading in the years ahead?
Well, I'm looking forward to the next 90, that's for sure. And I think golden years or golden age is an appropriate term. We're going to have to be very careful to not leave it just to fanfare, to make sure that commitments become investments, that words become actions. But I can tell you from working in the kingdom and around the kingdom for several decades, this time is different. There is incredible momentum, energy. There is specificity to deals and to projects and to initiatives. And we view ourselves as on point to make sure that all of this becomes the true partnership that we seem to be celebrating here today.
Yeah, and obviously your role, as you've been describing it, is to facilitate business in both directions. We've been talking to a lot of people on this channel the last few days about how to do business in Saudi Arabia, and We've heard from Saudi economists and experts telling us, there are certain things you shouldn't do. And then, there's a sense in Saudi Arabia people are fed up with people viewing Saudi Arabia as being a kind of an ATM machine. They don't like being patronized or preached to. I mean, have you got any golden nuggets of advice that you give your clients, your partners, when they want to enter the Saudi market?
Yeah, not unlike what you just described. Those days are long gone, if they ever existed in the first place, where people could come here and just expect the kingdom or any of its stakeholders to pony up money for this investment or that investment. It all has to have a story related to it, and a story that is in furtherance of the objectives of Vision 2030. And you don't need me to talk about those at length, probably, but they're very clear and very ambitious. And those are the kinds of decisions that will be made with respect to Saudi investments going forward. And you're absolutely singing our tune when you say this is not a time to come and simply view Saudi Arabia as a cash machine. Saudi Arabia enjoys incredible prominence on the world stage these days. And for the United States and for U.S. businesses, they deserve the respect and recognition as a strategic partner.
Just going back to the deals that were struck during President Trump's visit to Saudi. I mean, obviously lots of sectors affected,
Yeah.
The obvious ones being energy, defense, tech, space to a certain extent as well. Which sector do you think holds the greatest long-term potential for collaboration, do you think?
Oh, you're going to get me in trouble. This is like asking about children. I love them all equally, Tom. Greatest long-term, I really, probably technology, if I had to pick one. But there are others that are very near and dear to my heart. The session we did was on quality of life sectors, for example. And I think that's where some of the magic resides, in tourism and culture and sports and entertainment. That creates the magic that, in my view, enables great initiatives in energy and technology and other areas.
Right, and there's an argument, isn't there, that they all feed each other, and there's, once you've got an ecosystem going, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Picking you up on tech there, I mean, obviously artificial intelligence very close to the hearts of a lot of people around the world, but it seems like Saudi Arabia is really keen on developing AI. Obviously,
Yes.
US chips are going to be used there in Saudi Arabia, and that involves a lot of trust, doesn't it? Because the United States doesn't give that kind of trust away very easily.
Well said. Yes. In this particular area, with respect to chips, and in other areas, you can see the flavor of the week, and even behind the scenes, there's trust on show.
Just two quick questions before we wrap up. I'd like to take you back to the forum and the mood there. And I just wanted to ask you, what do you think stands out for you from there, or maybe another element of President Trump's visit as being the photo moment of the whole time that he was there?
Well, the photo moment is the moment with MBS, or the moments with MBS and Trump together. Those symbolize the new chapter, the friendship, the partnership, and so on and so forth. But what was different about this, and I've been to many of these forums, as I'm sure you have, the electricity was genuine. The skepticism was not there. I mean, skeptics were converted over the course of the last few weeks, and that was really interesting and eye-opening for me.
And what was the loudest moment in that forum? I mean, we had a glimpse of, obviously clips and footage of the forum taking place in Riyadh. But, in terms of the audio, what was the moment where people gasped or clapped the loudest?
Maybe hard to say, but my sense was the announcement about Syria. was figuratively and literally the loudest moment in the room.
Yeah, that tallies with what we were told. Well, thank you very much. We're going to have to leave it there. Really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us. Charles Hallab, the CEO and the President of the US Saudi Business Council. Thank you for your time, sir.
Great to be here. Thank you.